Musically meditated.
Musically meditated. Musically meditated.
All right, welcome to Musically Meditated Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Riley. I have my co-host, the best producer in the podcast game. What's up, Stratton?
Hey, man.
How you doing today?
I'm actually really good. I'm really good.
Yeah.
I'm excited, and you're gonna tell everybody why.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is Deftones Part 2, Revisit, Relive. Yeah, damn it. That's really, I just drew a blank. We've been talking so much.
The reason I'm excited is because this is our first successful phone interview.
Yeah, it is.
It's going to open up a whole new world for guests and people that we can interact with. We keep, on a weekly basis, we keep trying to step up our game and get better and more entertaining and give you more information and get cooler and cooler guests and everything. And this was another new thing for us, and it's super exciting.
It is. It's a small milestone or a very big feat for us. I mean, it's nice to be able to connect with the rest of the world. I mean, we have all these super cool, shiny gadgets and everything available at our fingertips, and it's nice for Musically Meditated to obviously show it's reaching a decent audience and it's not just so regional, right? And This is what this episode reflects, because our guest is Danielle Parsons, and she is a photographer, and she reached out because she really liked the Deftones themed episodes that we've done in the past, and you'll hear her talk about when she first listened to the podcast and everything. So she reached out, and we've been in contact with each other, and she wanted to join, and I was like, okay, because we were going to do the part 2. We were just waiting, and other people reached out, but I thought this was important, and so did you, Stratton, because of the phone, because she lives in L.A.,
yeah.
So you know, it's not like we could take a plane over there, and I'm sure she has her regular job, and we have our day jobs as well, and it was just really cool to bring her in. So, you know, what we discuss here is just a little recap. She talks about her photography life and the different festivals and stuff that she goes to. She has a background in hardcore punk, and she's from Pennsylvania, and she's taking pictures of the Deftones, so she'll share a little bit about that, right, Stratton? And
so, did you say Pennsylvania or Philadelphia?
She's from a suburb of Philly.
Okay.
Yeah, and then she went out to L.A.
I'm an idiot.
Yeah, it's okay.
Never mind.
We're all idiots, but she'll get into that, and then I went into like the top 10 things you might not have known about White Pony, so some kind of obscure, weird, random facts, and some of it touches on things we talked about on episode 1, but Danielle was able to join us and bring her different interpretations and awesome opinions. So it's a really good episode, and enjoy it. And remember, if you're a new listener, a first-time listener, it's very important for you to hit that subscribe button for us. We are on all the podcast listening platforms. So if you have an iPhone, you know, hit subscribe. It's important. We need to compete. If you have a Droid, Google Play, Stitcher, what else? Stratton. iHeartRadio, Spotify, if you have a Spotify.
Tune in. Yeah, if you go into Google Play, there's like 1,000 of them. So it's just however you listen to podcasts, whatever's the thing you know. And if you don't know and you have an iPhone, go to your podcast app. How'd you find us?
Yeah.
But otherwise, I mean, there's YouTube. The thing is, however you listen, and if you like it, tell somebody else you know, so we grow this thing. And then also, if you have a minute, you know, I keep repeating myself, but if you have a minute, just write a couple sentences in any of these places that have like a space for actual like input, like reviews, like I like these guys and I like Joe, and you know, stuff like that.
Yeah,
just write something.
We like Stratton's awesome production.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like if you have an iPhone, it's important, because we want to compete with the bigger name corporate music, you know, podcasts.
It all starts with that, because you know, we host through Libsyn, so Libsyn does their own. They have their own way to advertise us. But the monster right now, the big guy, the big guy in the totem pole is iTunes and Apple, and they do the majority of the suggestions. And the way for us to crack those top 100, top 200, you know, those lists, top 50, top 10, is through listener interaction. It even if we have, 100,000 listeners, we won't show up if nobody gives reviews.
Yeah, we need reviews. We need reviews, and if you have the Spotify Premium, we're on there as well.
Yeah.
And if you are watching us and listening to us on YouTube, we do have videos. We don't have a video for this because Danielle's in Cali or whatever, but even if you primarily listen on YouTube, depending on what phone you have, please subscribe to us on one of those listening platforms. It's really important. YouTube's great, and we have video for it now, but it's important, to sink into those algorithms and compete with the big boys because we're independent as it gets.
Yeah.
And we're grinding along. We put out a lot of good content. So if you're a new listener and this is your first time, please do that. We appreciate you and everyone with their support thus far. And Danielle, thanks again. So here we go.
I got two things.
Oh, go
Sorry.
ahead.
I got two things. So the first thing is you can interact with us. We would love to hear your questions. Don't be so shy. Everyone is so shy.
So shy.
Call 1-812-963-4727. 1-812-963-4727. Tell us what you think. Recommend some new music. We're always wanting to hear that new music.
Yeah.
Disagree with us. See, give us a little bit of that input. We'd like to we're going to play your voice on here. You'll be part of the show. That's the first thing. The second thing is the show is sponsored by Hobart Lumber Company.
Yes.
They're local. If you're in town and you're listening and you have any of that kind of, if you have lumber needs or construction needs, go to them. They're local. Shop local.
Shop local, please. It's at 630 Main Street in Hobart. Like Stretton said, there's the Lumber Yard and an Ace Hardware, so you can get all your hardware products there. And the number is 219-945-3031. That number is 219-945-3031. You could also go to www.hobartlumber.com. And they've been a family-owned, operated business since 1915. Yes, 1915. They've expanded. They have 3 different locations, 3 different lumber yards. But like Stretton said, shop local. Please come to Hobart Lumber, and they have lumber, building materials, hardware, home improvement, cabinets, flooring, everything. So thank you for your support, Hobart Lumber, and everyone. Don't be shy. Subscribe. We need your help. And here we go. Deftones Part 2. Relive, revisit. All right, this is episode 2 of Musically Meditated, Deftones White Pony, revisit, review, relive, and we have a special guest with us for this episode, and her name is Danielle Parsons, and she is a photographer. How you doing, Danielle?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks again for reaching out to us. We were looking for a guest for this, like a special guest, and I'm glad you reached out. So as far as your photography goes, how long have you been taking photos, and what got you into that exactly?
Oh, wow. So honestly, I've been taking photos since I was like 12 years old.
Okay.
I'm 28 now, so I don't know. I'm bad at math. So my mom just gave me one of her film cameras when I was younger, and that's just kind of how I got into it.
Awesome. And did it start with music? Like, because you're living in LA, but are you from LA or?
I'm from Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. So was there like a scene there, like a music scene in Philly that you got involved, like taking photos of bands or?
Yeah. So actually I'm from Bucks County, Pennsylvania, in like a little town called Jamison, which is the suburb of Philly. And there were a lot of shows in like the surrounding kind of areas, like bands like Title Fight, Tiger's Jaw, Balance and Composure. Those kinds of bands are, the people I kind of grew up shooting, just kind of met everyone at shows. And then when I moved to Philly, I started to kind of get involved with the scene there. I've shot This Is Hardcore a couple times. It's just kind of, I don't know. It kind of just happened. Like there was no really like aha moment that got me into music. I feel like I just kind of started doing it.
Okay, so you were just drawn to it somehow, some way, and then you just fully embraced the whole scene, and they embraced you as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I love Title Fight, and you said Balance and Composure, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love both those bands. Are you friends with them too? Like, do you know them personally since you're in the same area? Because I know Title Fight's a PA band, right? Like, what town are they from? Kingston or something?
Yeah, they're from Kingston, Wilkes-Barre area, which is, like I think like an hour or so from Scranton. But yeah, I just kind of started going to shows, and I met all these people when they were in, the bands they started before Title Fight and Balance and Composure, and that scene just kind of really flourished out of nowhere. So I'm really lucky that, these are the people I got to grow up with.
All right. Awesome. And now moving on to the Deftones, I know you took some photos of them too, right, out in LA, and how was that experience?
Honestly, it was surreal. Like I had the chills the whole time. It was crazy.
Cool. I mean,
I think Joe has the chills right now too.
I'm fanboying out. Yay! But yeah, I mean, were you backstage and shit like that, or on stage? Because I did see some of the photos on your Instagram, and they're pretty awesome. And then you have a website too, right?
I do, yes, which I have not updated in a really long time. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, were you backstage, on stage? How does walk us through your whole experience with the Deftones? Like how does that come about? And I don't know, just your whole experience.
So that was actually my first time seeing them.
Okay.
Anytime I tried to see them when I lived in Philly, it just never worked out. Everything if I had plans, they fell through. So I was really lucky that the first time I saw them, I also got to photograph them. I wasn't on stage. Kind of shooting at big venues is really strict. You typically have to be in the photo pit, which is usually in front of the barricade, that little kind of section between the audience and the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to shoot the first 3 songs, and then you just have to kind of get escorted back to your seat. It was at the Greek Theater, which is a really big, beautiful outdoor amphitheater type venue.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've read about it. I've never been out to LA, but yeah, it's kind of a legendary spot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. But
yeah, so
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Oh no, that's all I
Okay.
had to say about that. It was amazing.
Now, are there a ton of what's the credentials? Do you have to know the publicist, or how do you or the record label, or how do they pick the photographers that okay, you could do it, and no, you can't, Danielle, yeah, Joe, no, how does that go down?
Yeah, credentials do have a lot to do with it. Actually, I got very lucky. My boyfriend at the time was friends with somebody in Refused, and asked him, was my girlfriend wants to shoot the show, can she? So I got really lucky with a hookup there.
Okay.
But usually, I mean, I freelance for Getty Images and shoot for a couple other different music publications. So it's just kind of up to the publicists and managers. Some bands are really strict. Some people don't want photographers. It all just kind of depends on who you're working with. But I think it seems like the Deftones are pretty relaxed about it.
I could see Tool being dicks about it. I don't know why. I could just see Maynard no photos. I don't know. I'm just thinking crazy, but yeah, that's awesome. And Refuse, they're a great band live. I'm glad they got back together. What year was that? 2012 or something. And I got to see them at the Congress in Chicago, and it was just a great show. And then I saw them at Riot Fest in Chicago too in 2016, and they put on the best performance out of all the bands, and that was a really good lineup. So Refuse is awesome. Did you ever get to see Refuse, Danielle?
No, you know what? I never really got into Refuse.
Okay. Now moving on to White Pony. I've talked to you through messaging and stuff, and you stumbled across our first episode, right? Did you ever listen to any other musically meditated episodes, or was that the first one you stumbled across, the White Pony one we did?
I think the Diamond Eyes one might have been the first one.
Okay, cool. Now, like I said before, you're a big fan of Saturday Night Wrist, which is your favorite, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and that's you never really hear that as far as Deftones fans. A lot of people hate it. I do like it, but I can't say that it's my favorite. White Pony is probably my favorite. I know it's the most, their most commercial successful, but Do you have any stories about White Pony, like the first time that you heard that album, and where did you hear it, and did it change your musical taste, or what's your story with White Pony specifically?
You know what? I don't really have like a super specific kind of White Pony aha moment.
Okay.
Honestly, the first time I heard the Deftones, I was in 7th grade watching All Things Rock on MTV2, and they played the Minerva video and then the My Own Summer video like back to back.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, this band's really cool. Like, I like them, whatever. But I didn't really start to like love the Deftones until I was like a little bit older, like in college.
Okay.
And I don't really remember how I just stumbled upon it, but I just put it on one day, and then I just started. I listened to it like pretty much every day for like 2 years when I was back in college in Philly. And it definitely that record like got me into, all the other Deftones records. And then I started to listen to bands like, Hum and Helmet, who I know like the Deftones draw a lot of influence from.
Oh yeah. Sinatra is a great cover. I remember Deftones covered that. It was on one of their B-sides, remember, from, I think it was on the Minerva single, actually. Don't quote me on that, but did you ever hear the Deftones cover Sinatra by Helmet?
I have. And what's funny is when I saw Helmet, when they started the Betty tour a couple of years ago, someone like yelled for them to play Sinatra, and they were like, no, that's a Helmet song. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I remember when you reached out to me too, you're like, you need to do a Helmet episode. So you're a big Helmet fan? Like, is that one of your favorite bands?
Oh my God. Yeah. I collect like Helmet merch. Like, I know it's kind of lame, but
no, it's cool. I nerd out. I got I have Deftones shirts from 20 years ago, so
I have I have multiple Dave Matthews Band shirts and a Dave Matthews beer bottle opener. So to have zero embarrassment because I'm proud of my shit.
He's proud of his DMB. He has a chain link tattoo,
giant gold chain
around his bicep, and it says DMB. Yep. Stratton actually puts like subliminal DMB messages all around our studio here, and I'm kind of sick of it. But no, we all nerd out about our favorite band. Helmet's I don't know. I just listened to a podcast and the bass player was on it. I don't know if it was 100 words and less, but that was an interesting listen. And Helmet's a crazy. I don't know. They're just very raw, and yeah, the Deftones covering that song, it was just like, wow, I forgot about them. I mean, I remember when I was younger, like really young, and then that made me go back and revisit all of Helmet stuff. So, yeah, that Sinatra cover is amazing. It's so good. Yeah, it's great. And then Hum too. We talked about them with the Deftones Part 1, the White Pony Part 1 episode, and you could tell Chino was not ripping them off, but they were heavily influenced by that record. Wouldn't you agree? Like the Little Dipper song and Knife Party and everything, like it sounds a lot alike. The guitar tone anyway, Absolutely.
And you mentioned the record cover, which is like one of the first things I actually noticed.
Okay.
About White Pony was how similar it was to the cover of You'd Prefer an Astronaut.
Yeah, not like they ripped them off, but pretty close. Because I remember there was a article I read when Saturday Night Risk came out. Like, that's how long I've been nerding out about the Deftones. I remember articles I read like 15 years ago or whatever. But like Chino broke it down, like what albums, like the top 10 albums he was listening to while they were writing White Pony, and that was like number 1. I was like, oh, okay. And that's kind of how I went back and got into Hum. I mean, I remember Stars being on the radio because they're from Illinois, and we're like 40 minutes away from Chicago here in Northwest Indiana. So, there was some close state love, if that makes any sense. So maybe they got a little bit more airplay. Hum did, as, I don't know, as opposed to something else or some alternative heavy metal band back then, But yeah, Hum's great. As far as the White Pony and just Deftones in general in California, since you're out in Cali, do they have like a huge fan base, would you say, like compared to Philly, like coming back this way or to the East Coast? Like, is there a bigger fan base for the Deftones on the West Coast, like a bigger love?
You know what? I would say there is, but I mean, I worked Aftershock Festival like this past year. And Deftones were one of the headliners, and it was like nothing I've ever seen at a festival. Like that crowd, like people were sitting up in trees watching them.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was insane. But yeah, I mean, I would say they do. I feel like they play, California like several times a year.
Okay, and they did like they had their own Deftones Fest last year too, didn't they? Like in San Diego or something. Is that what you were talking about? People in the trees?
No, I guess it's like the Monster Aftershock Festival that they put on in like Sacramento every year.
Oh, okay. Okay. How is Sacramento? I mean, I know that's further north. Like, is it a pretty decent music scene up there? Like, does each area have their own thing going on? Like a hardcore scene or a punk scene, like Sacramento to, I don't know, the Bay Area and San Diego. Like, is it all different or I don't know, like kind of like how Korn was in the '90s from Bakersfield and Deftones were Sacramento, but they kind of had the same sound and same look. Like, is it the same thing there now in Cali with the different music scenes, like the metal scene or hardcore scene? Or
I would say with hardcore, yeah. Like, especially I feel like the Bay Area and LA are very close. Like, I see a lot of hardcore bands from LA playing up in Oakland a lot, and like vice versa with bands from the Bay Area. I can't really speak about Sacramento. That was the only time I've been to Sacramento. I don't really know about San Diego either. I don't really go down there a lot, but yeah, LA and the Bay Area are like pretty tight.
Awesome. I'm a big fan of Ceremony. Are they would you say they're Bay Area? I forgot what part they're from. Do you listen to Ceremony?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they are from the Bay Area. I'm not really sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay. Yeah, they're awesome. And how about the Sound and Fury? Do you take pictures at that too? Do you go to that every year?
I do, yeah. I've been lucky enough to where I've gotten to take pictures one or two times that I've gone.
Cool. And like, how many bands are at that? Because I want to do that sometime. I want to go out there and check that out. Like, how many are there? Like 25 to 30 different bands? Is it like an all-day festival or is it a weekend?
It's usually like a Friday and a Saturday, like all day.
Okay.
So it's pretty stacked.
Cool. Is that coming up soon or?
It's in July, but a couple, they've been announcing bands, like I'm pretty sure Have Heart's playing, and everyone's kind of losing their mind over that. That'll be a really cool thing to see again.
Yeah. They're getting back. I just saw Fiddlehead. They played with Citizen at Citizen's 10-year reunion show. And where are they from in Ohio? Dayton? Where are they from?
Citizen?
Yeah, I just went to that show, and like Fiddlehead, they didn't open for them, but they were one of the opening acts for Citizen from Citizen's hometown. What part of Ohio is that? Is it Dayton?
I want to say Toledo.
Thank you. Yeah, it's Toledo.
I think.
Yeah, it's Toledo. Yeah, I drove out there. It was a good time, and Pat is the singer from Fiddlehead is from Have Heart. So it was a really good show. Did you like that Fiddlehead album that came out last year?
You know what? I'm the worst when it comes to listening to new music. Like, I'll listen to something like 2 years after it comes out and I'll be obsessed with it. But I've heard great things about Fiddlehead, and Pat's also like one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Okay,
and
cool.
I know everyone in that band is really talented, so it's definitely something I need to check out. I'm like the kind of person where I listen to the same 3 things every day for years, and it like never changes.
Okay, well, there's this podcast called Musically Meditated, and you should check it out because we try to keep up with letting people know some good shit to check out on a regular basis. So yeah, you should subscribe to Musically Meditated. But yeah, that's cool. Now I want to move on to this article.
Can I jump in before you guys start doing that? I just had sorry, Danielle. I do have a question. So when you do photography, when you take pictures and you do work at these festivals, like what does your day entail? Is it you have your camera in your hands and you're walking around all day long taking pictures, or is there any point that that you actually can put the camera down and enjoy a couple songs, or what's usually your routine, or is it like, how do you do it? Do you only take pictures? Do you put the camera down a little bit?
It kind of depends on the fest. There have been a couple fests where I've felt I put pressure on myself to shoot every single band and like not let myself have fun. But like, for instance, Sound and Fury, the way they work with their photographers is the best, like out of any festival I've ever worked. They kind of make it so you can enjoy the festival. And shoot at the same time. Like they'll, send out a survey to the photographers and they're like, okay, well, who do you want to shoot? Where do you want to shoot? And they try to make sure you're as comfortable as possible and you can do what you want. But sometimes like, I'll shoot a couple, like the first 3 or 4 songs and then I'll just, go into the crowd and watch, kind of just depending on the mood or how I feel. So it kind of varies from like festival to festival.
All right. Do you ever like get frustrated and then jump in the pit and just start throwing down?
Oh my God, never.
Like, and just go out there and just get down. I know that you're a part of like a team too, right? Like you and a bunch of other ladies go to like the same fest or go to different concerts out there in LA and take pictures. Like, isn't there like a team or something that you're a part of?
Yeah. So how do I describe it? I'm terrible at describing things. So I'm part of like kind of a traveling photo show, with, it's called To the Front. Basically it's just, women, women of color, queer women, just all types of women. And we just kind of, it's girls from all over the country. And we just kind of, travel to different cities and, show our work. And sometimes we all kind of will meet up at a show, like all the girls in LA, and we'll, kind of shoot a show together. And that's a really fun, like, environment to be part of.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. Like cool, creative outlet for a bunch of people. It's very, very artistic. Like, are all the other girls too, like into the same music? Is it always like a theme behind hardcore or something like that? Like, or do you go to like a Future show or something too? Or is it all, like a hardcore punk vibe?
Oh, no. I mean, it's all different kinds of music. Like,
Okay.
We've had some girls show, like, Post Malone photos and, Phoebe Bridgers, like, different types of bands. Like, I usually will have a Slipknot and a Deftones, photo at, like, every show I do. Everyone's, shoots different types of music, I think, which is another thing that makes it really special.
Awesome. Not to get too far off track, but how was the Slipknot experience? Because we have some Slipknot episodes we're going to do here in the future. We actually have one recorded, but how was that experience with Slipknot? Because they're humongous now. Like, I kind of forgot about them in a way and just went back and was revisiting their first couple albums, and they're just huge. So how was that experience with Slipknot?
Honestly, probably in, like, my top 3 favorite things I've ever photographed. Like,
Okay.
It was incredible. Like, I can't even describe it to you. Like, I feel like there's some bands who just don't really, I mean, I understand people don't care to be photographed and don't like it, and it's not everyone's thing, and that's fine. But like, I felt like there were times when Corey Taylor like stood in front of all of us on purpose.
That sounds about right.
which there's a bunch of photographers going to stand in front of them. That's what it felt like, which I thought was really cool.
That is cool. Where did you see them in LA? Like what venue was it at, or was it outside? Or
I saw them at the Forum in Inglewood, which is, I believe, where the Kings used to play.
Oh, okay, awesome. Was it just packed, sold out, or?
I don't know, to be honest, but I mean, there were a ton. It might have sold out. There were so many people there.
Okay, cool. Stretton, you have any other questions?
About Slipknot?
No,
not right now.
Just anything with photography, like any.
Oh
other...
no! I just the reason I brought it up is because I went to a show recently, and the act that was playing set up a stage right in the middle of the venue, and so we got there really early and set up. Got really close to the stage, and right before the main act started playing, all the photographers like stood right in front of us, and we were very curious. We decided not to get frustrated, But we were very curious about like what their process was. Were they going to stand in front of us the whole time? Was the headlining act going to tell them to move? How did it go? But they were actually very respectful. They took some pictures, moved around, and then they just disappeared. Like they took their pictures, and then there's a certain song that this act plays that the photographers came back. There's like a little bit that they do. And so they came back for that to get some photographs because it's kind of like a thing they do on social media and stuff. And then they disappeared again. So it's something I always wonder because photographers, you want to get the best shot. You want to get good shots. You want to highlight the bands and the acts, but you also don't want to ruin the people that are coming to, like the audience's experience. So it's something I wonder about. And also you're human and you're obviously taking photographs of people that you like to watch and you really enjoy their music. So how do you, I always wonder about that balance. Like when do you put the camera down and start and jump into the mosh pit?
In the mosh pit, yeah. Like how you keep your shit together and just focus on taking the right.
So that's where that question came from.
Okay.
I can totally understand that. And everyone has such like a different process with that. Sometimes I'll leave like right after the first 3 songs, depending on who it is, or if I'm like tired, which I always am, but
it's always sunny out there. Come on. It's always sunny in LA. I don't know. I've never been there, but I could imagine. I always see pictures and get jealous. Like it's snowing here right now and that sucks. But what kind of camera do you use? I'm just curious.
I use a Canon 5D Mark IV. Oh my God. I like just totally blanked on that.
All right. And I noticed too, there's like kind of like a comeback, a 35 millimeter. Is that something you might like want to try in the future, or is that something you just want to stay away from?
Actually, funny you say that. I learned photography on like a 35 millimeter film camera. Okay. And I took film photography classes in high school. So I actually started out with film and then moved to digital. But I've done work for a couple bands and they've wanted strictly film photos. I've done some album art, which some of which are strictly film photos. I shot that band Me Without You. I did like a really cool kind of graveyard photo shoot with them in Philly a couple years back, and they wanted everything in film.
Awesome. Why would they want that? Just kind of like a texture to it, or like a warmth or something, like analog versus digital recording? Would that be the same reason, you think? I mean,
I kind of think, honestly, I like film so much better. I think it looks a bit more raw.
Okay.
And you can't, go back and like fix your mistakes. You kind of just have to chance it. But I think they have, I like the gritty feel of them. I think, some people don't want things to look too polished.
All right. That makes sense. Yeah. Well, let's move on to this little top 10 list of things you may not have known about White Pony, the album. And I did get this info from an article written by Dan Epstein from Revolver. And then I put in like some other facts and tidbits from DeftonesWorld.com. So I want to give like those guys or whatever their credit, But the first thing I'll start off, the album already had its title before any of the songs were written, and they said they kind of wanted to have like a dreamy vibe to it, but then obviously they linked up the whole White Pony thing to a cocaine drug reference, and it kind of like when a cool harmless idea turns into a drug-induced dream, like White Pony kind of.
With the best of intentions, we started doing cocaine.
Right? Like somehow they, it's gonna be like this, and then I guess Chino just, I don't know, when life, I don't know, looks like art or however that goes, but yeah, Danielle, like, you ever dive deep into the lyrics or anything with White Pony? Like, what kind of vibe do you get from, I guess, even the art to the lyrical format?
Oh my God, yeah. All the time. Jesus. I really did because I knew I wanted to get a Deftones theme tattoo and I didn't know what I wanted to get. And then upon reading all their lyrics, I'm sure you've noticed, there's a lot of, it's all very sexual. Mm-hmm. Like that's no joke. I had a friend kind of make fun of me for liking the Deftones and was like, yeah, that's like alt stripper music. And I was like, you're not wrong, but okay.
I'd be a liar if I would, if I said I never saw a stripper strip to Change in the House of Flies. Like it has occurred.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe that's just how we get down here in the Chicagoland region. I don't know, but I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to incriminate myself anymore. But yeah, it's kind of it has like a sexual vibe, and I could see that. That's a good description, I guess. But
I mean, it's all also like very dreamy, and I think isn't like if you have a dream and you see a white pony, it's like represents something sexual, or am I just making that up?
No, it does. I read that somewhere before. Like there is I don't know if it's like a sexual fortune teller or something, but white pony. I know Chino was quoted saying too, there was like a song, like a disco song, like Get on the White Pony. And I think that was like a sexual reference. And then, like I said, they kind of went to the whole cocaine deal with it too. So yeah, Chino's always had kind of like a vulnerable, sexual, seductive kind of approach to the microphone. And I feel like with the lyrics with White Pony compared to Around the Fur, or even Adrenaline, like he was painting like just kind of like a weird, dreamy, obscure picture for sure. Like even, I don't know if you remember, there was like an EPK, and that was like small movie videos before YouTube and all that shit. And there was a cool like EPK video for White Pony. Did you ever see that before? Like it has like a 1984 vibe, the movie or the book, like the end of the world and Oxygen. Yeah, there's a really cool like small little movie. I remember it came out. It was on a sampler. I think I mentioned that on the last episode. But excuse me. Yeah, there's just always something very, very sexual. But yeah, that's what the White Pony was. It was just an idea. They had it, and then they just turned it into their own thing. The next thing is Terry Date obviously produced this, and he worked with them on the first two records, and they used Pro Tools, and they got away from whatchamacallit, the analog sound, which I like analog. It's a little bit thicker, but I think the whole Pro Tools and the sound of this album, like it was digital, but it was super clean, and it kind of embraced that Y2K feeling. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it was like a turn in the times. Here's 1999 to 2000, and they were just like one of the first bands or the first big label band to use the whole Pro Tools sound. Like, were you a fan, Danielle, of like the sound of White Pony compared to their other two?
Yes. I feel like my favorite Deftones record changes every couple months. Like it was Around the Fur for a while, and then I kind of took more to White Pony. So yeah, honestly, I think it does sound a lot better.
Yeah, it just it's super clean, and it doesn't get old. Like there's no like Back to School I do not care for. It's too rap rock for me now that I'm older, but you could put on White Pony and it's just priceless. It never sounds dated. Stretton,
I agree.
Do you agree, Stretton?
Yes, I agree.
I mean, I know you're just chomping at the bit to get a Korn thing in there, because Stretton's a big Korn fan still, I think.
Was. I still am, but not. I don't like you guys really genuinely still enjoy the Deftones. I don't enjoy. Well, I'm glad I was into that music back then. When I revisit it, I don't have the same feelings for that music from then.
Okay.
So
okay, and we'll move on to number 3. This was a time where Chino and Steph were really butting heads. And, Danielle, you've probably been around a lot of different bands, and it always seems like there's a leader. I've been in bands, but there's always like the guy that calls the shots, right? And like,
yeah,
Steph was probably that dude. He was the main songwriter, and he's the lead guitarist. And I love Steph, from interviews or whatever that I've watched and things that I've read. But Chino kind of butted in there, and a lot of people don't realize, like, Steph moved to LA, and they were recording this album in Sacramento and in Seattle. So Steph moved to LA, and Abe and Chino just started working on stuff with Chino on guitar, because he wasn't really a guitarist. He was like really raw back then. Like, he's gotten a lot better. Like, with what was that song with Gore with Jerry Cantrell on it, and there's that cool solo, like Jerry Cantrell's doing the solo. Like Chino pulled that shit off the last time I saw him live. Like he did a good job. So yeah, he's improved his skills in 20 years. But you know, instead of waiting for Steph, Chino and Abe just started writing a lot of songs, and then Chi showed up and did his thing. And you know, a lot of times in bands when you're button heads like that, and you know, it brings out the best creative shit possible. You know, do you ever run into that kind of stuff, Danielle, with photography and working with people or anything else? Like, would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. And I've toured a couple times with some different bands, and it's definitely a thing. I mean, it's kind of like with any relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship. There's always kind of a power dynamic.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I've done like some, you know, very specific album art where I've gotten lyrics to songs and I've had to take photos kind of based on the lyrics. So, I mean,
oh, that's cool.
You know, it's definitely really hard to try to, you know, do someone justice like that. And it can be very intimidating.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of glad, like I'm coming from, I guess, Team Chino here with this, but I'm glad that he got involved and started writing songs because he obviously had more of a mellow approach to the songwriting. And I think if Steph would have just kept doing what he wanted to do, like he's listening to like a lot of Meshuggah and shit then, which I like early Meshuggah, but I think Steph would have just kept him in that one lane, which would have been total new metal, you know, like they wouldn't have been able to expand their sound. So I guess kudos to Steph too, to kind of letting Chino get in his lane, so to speak, and help him with the songwriting process and let him, you know, show his love for, I don't know, ambient music and early 80s new wave, you know, like from The Cure to the Smiths, Duran Duran and all of that. Because like for me personally, it opened up my mind and my eyes to all that different type of music, you know, and it was a good clash between Chino and Steph, you know. So I think that it was a good deal. Like, do you like more of the mellow Deftones stuff or the heavy stuff?
This is also something that changes like every couple months. I'd say right now the more mellow stuff, like I definitely listen to Saturday Night Wrist like pretty much every day at this point.
Yeah, that album. Well, yeah, we'll have you back on. That's just a crazy album. It's very disconnected, but it's like I get in my weird Deftones modes too. And like last year I was listening to Self-Titled a lot, and this year I've been listening to Saturday Night Wrist a lot. Maybe because like the sun hasn't shined here like for like 3 months, you know, because it's winter and it's just been snowing. It's just a really dark record, but you know, there's some beautiful elements of Saturday Night Wrist too. But we'll keep that for the next episode we have you on. Moving on to number 4, which is the fact that the song "Change in the House of Flies" really set the direction of the whole album as far as the band like coming to a common ground and kind of throwing in those ambient, creepy sounds, you know, with Frank coming on board, because Frank was an official member then, and I think he's like a great additive to the group. Like even more so in Saturday Night Wrist, going back to that again, like he really shines, you know, and he really shines on White Pony. He fills in all those blank spaces, and you know, they were able to sit down as a band and just work together creatively, and it did set like a really cool vibe for the rest of the album. And that's one of those songs I've heard a million times, and I'll skip over it nowadays, I'll be honest, but when I see them live, it's like, oh, I go back to 2000 and, you know, act like a nerd and sing the chorus. Don't look at me like that, Stretton. But yeah, I think it was a cool, different approach compared to shit that they did on Around the Fur. And Change is just like one of those staples, wouldn't you say, Danielle? Like a Deftones song forever. I mean, it's their song, right?
Yeah, I think it really kind of really put them on the map for a lot of people. And it's also been in like an insane amount of like video games and movies and stuff too.
Okay.
I feel like they play it every show. I just feel like it's one of those songs that's just aged really well, and it'll always be like a fan favorite.
Yeah, definitely. And moving on to the fifth random fact here. I didn't know this until I read this article, but Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon was a huge influence. And I hear that, I guess. I mean, I don't know, Danielle, what do you think? I mean, I'm sure you know that album, right? Dark Side of the Moon. Have you ever heard of it?
I have, but I'm not like a big Pink Floyd head.
I'm not
so
either.
This one's kind of going over my head a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's an overall vibe, I think, like, I don't know, like we mentioned, maybe a little sexual with the Deftones, but a dark, I could see like there's like an element of like maybe like a bad trip or a nightmare.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so you could agree. Like
I'm laughing because the phrase sexy vampire popped into my head.
What kind of shit are you watching?
So stupid.
So yeah, it has a sexy vampire vibe to threaten.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not really wrong.
You watched too much Buffy in the 90s, bro.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, back to Saturday Night Wrist, there is that song Kim Dracula, so you're not entirely wrong.
No, that is a good
I know what
point.
I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, Danielle's right. I love that song, but we got to keep that for Saturday Night Wrist, Danielle. We got to have you back on. But yeah, there's back to the Dark Side of the Moon, like there's a lot of different textures, and you could really strip it back and focus on one sound or one instrument, and you could really do that with White Pony as well. Like everybody's kind of like in their own vibe or in their own mode, and it all comes together. And you know, you could put it on like it plays like a soundtrack to a movie, because remember that, like you could do that back in the day. You could watch The Wizard of Oz, and the whole thing was you could play Dark Side of the Moon to it, but it goes with The Wizard of Oz. Remember that? Did you ever do that, Danielle? Did they do that in Pennsylvania or no?
Dear God, no.
All right. Moving on to number 6. We talked about this on the first episode, but we'll get back into it. Passenger with Maynard on it from Tool. You know, he originally was just supposed to come in and help them with like the songwriting structure, and you know how Tool is. They'll just complicate something in a good way and sometimes in an annoying way. Like I love Tool, but they kind of piss me off every now and then. But he was in wherever they recorded it. Like I said, I think it was in Seattle, and then they did a little bit of it in Sacramento. But you know, he showed up to help them switch up their songwriting, you know, like musically. And him and Chino sat down together and kind of came up with the whole lyrical theme, like two buddies or whatever, or lovers, you know, the passenger side of the car, just taking off or escaping their problems or whatever. So that's a cool backstory. And I know that Maynard had only joined them like a couple times live on stage to sing this, but I think Passenger is another song by the Deftones that'll just like forever just, I don't know, just be a great milestone, ain't it? I mean, it's a banger. It's a jam. Are you a fan of it, Danielle?
I am, and you know what? I don't know if you've seen this video. There was like some sort of a fest in, I think, England. I don't really know, like years ago, but Hayley Williams from Paramore actually joined the Deftones on stage and sang all of Maynard's parts.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think I remember coming across that.
That gave me the chills.
Yeah, she's awesome. And I remember the one dude, is his name Guy from Dillinger? Like when they were touring with Dillinger in the early 2000s, he would do that part as well. He would do Maynard's part. Do you remember that guy from Dillinger? He was like more of this, he was like the singer, not the screamer so much. I think his name was Guy. Like he pulled it off too, but not like Paramore. Nothing.
I'd like
close.
to hear that version.
Yeah,
hunt that down.
It's awesome. Very awesome. And now we'll go to number 7, weird fact. But Stratton, you might remember this more so than I do. Like Tony
Don't
Hawk.
make assumptions, Joe.
Tony Hawk was huge. You look like you probably play a lot of video games back then, but they spent a lot of time playing Tony Hawk. And like you said, Danielle, with Change being, I don't know, just on movies or whatever, like Tony Hawk. Do you remember that back then, Danielle, like the skater game, or no?
Oh my God, of course. Okay. And it is very addicting.
It is addicting. So yeah, they played a lot of Tony Hawk. It gave them a little outlet instead of killing each other. You know, Chino and Steph disagreeing about, I want to be heavy, I want to be mellow. You know, they probably just took it out on some Tony Hawk.
I did not play Tony Hawk, but I do remember a couple things about those games. It was Tony Hawk and, as crazy as it sounds, like the FIFA games. specifically, and a couple of the NBA like basketball games, but those two, Tony Hawk, were also a platform back then
for music,
other than MTV and before the streaming sites for music.
Yeah.
So they all had really, really good soundtracks. So whatever Tony Hawk knew, like whatever the new game was, I do remember that they always put out really catchy and good music and new music or music that everybody enjoyed. I do remember that part.
They were really good too, like in the 90s. Well, this was late 90s, early 2000s, but the great blend of hip hop and alternative rock. Like, remember when that was big with skater culture and shit? And
oh yeah,
you know, like that was just a great way to get exposed to new music. I just remember Jerry Was a Race Car Driver by Primus a lot on that video game. Like that was just always coming up. But yeah, they listened to that, or not listened. They played that all the time. But do you remember? Was there any songs, Danielle, that stuck out to you, like on the soundtrack for Tony Hawk? Do you remember?
Oh my God, I'm gonna jog my memory. I need to Google it, but. Something definitely did at the time. It was so long ago.
It was so long ago. I think Wu-Tang was on there too, maybe. I don't remember. It's been a minute. All right, we'll move on to number 8. I did not know this. I thought it was cool. They stayed at a haunted house while recording White Pony, and it was in the sound studios in West Hollywood. Let me see here. Oh, it was a house in the Hollywood Hills, and it was the same place where... Who was it? The album was Rumors by Fleetwood Mac. They like recorded at the same house, or it's haunted. So I don't know. Got that little haunted vibe. Didn't Red Hot Chili Peppers do something like that too? Like maybe Slipknot as well. I don't know if this is the same place. Do you know of that house or that area, Danielle? I mean, I know California's kind of big, but
you know what? I used to live in Hollywood, so like I'm pretty familiar with the Hollywood Hills, but no, I'm not familiar with that house, but like now I want to check it out because I love haunted stuff.
Yeah, it says the recording of White Pony was split between the record plant in Salcedo, I don't know if I'm saying that right, Cali, and Larrabee Sound Studios in West Hollywood. While working on their later studio parts, the band rented a house in the Hollywood Hills that was popular with visiting bands. And it was haunted as shit. Yeah, that would be kind of cool. And maybe some of those creepy spirits, like, I don't know, attach themselves, right? Right, Stratton? Why are you looking at me like that? Yeah, they attach themselves to the Deftones, and that's where, like, the dark shit came out.
Yeah.
You believe in ghosts, Danielle? Do you?
I totally do. Okay.
I kind of do, too. I don't know. But, yeah, that's kind of a cool little tidbit. And, yeah, number 9, moving on to number 9. They totally regretted the whole back-to-school thing. You know, because that was that whole... They already had the album out, right? And, I don't know, the record label really wanted them to compete with, like, Limp Bizkit and Papa Roach and shit like that. So they went back in and chopped up the song Pink Maggot, and they liked the chorus and asked them to do a rap rock ballad over it, and they regret doing that. How do you feel about that song, Danielle? Like, I get some shit about hating on it, but it's a hard listen for me now. Do you like that song, Back to School?
Unpopular opinion, I love that song.
Okay.
I can understand why the band doesn't like it. I understand why people don't like it, but like, you know, I grew up listening to like Linkin Park and that kind of stuff. So I definitely really like this song.
Yeah, they played it live a couple years ago. I think it was like on that tour with Incubus. They had like a big summer tour with Incubus and they were playing it. So it was kind of cool. It takes me back to like high school because it's like right when I graduated or whatever in 2001. And you know, I liked it then, but it's just, I don't know. Like, do you go back and revisit Papa Roach, Danielle?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I don't like Papa Roach, but I do listen to Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park like pretty regularly.
Okay. Yeah, that was a shame about Chester, man. Like, that was just all obviously just
so sad.
Just a bummer. And same with Chris Cornell. Like, I really haven't, I guess, gotten over that or like just want to accept it. But it is what it is, and it's unfortunate. Some other notable stuff here, like I said, the back to school, they didn't really care for it, but I guess they embraced it like later on. And you know, the Deftones are a versatile band, and it shows. Just with, I guess, going back and doing something that the record label asked, and not like they were selling out, but you know, they're just trying all different avenues. But yeah, like I said, Fleetwood Mac also recorded at that place. There was also, like back in the Napster days, Stratton and I talked about this, there was this live recording of them over in the Netherlands or Europe or something, and the backstory behind it is Mike Patton was there, And Mike Patton, you know who Mike Patton is, right, Danielle?
I don't.
He's from Faith No More and Mr.
Oh, okay,
Bungle and all those. He's got all those bands. He joined like Dillinger Escape Plan and stuff for like a little EP. But he's just an awesome singer and shit. And he's kind of a mischievous guy. Like he's taken shots at Red Hot Chili Peppers and Anthony Kiedis, and he's like gone over the line. But he's just a character, you know. And he dared Chino to drink almost an entire bottle of vodka, like a shot contest, before he had to go on stage. And he did. So the Napster days, you could find like live shows, and we were able to find it, and we downloaded it. And he's just totally shit-faced. And he, like, there's photos of it online. This dude named Dutch, he's got like a cool Tumblr. If anybody's interested, check out, it's Dutch's Deftones. And he like followed him around like a photographer for many, many years. And he was at that show, and Chino got so drunk, like, I don't know if I probably have the CD somewhere, but he did the tuck from Silence of the Lambs. Like he got
my God.
Yeah, he got that drunk. And I guess his wife called him, like, you know, this is before the internet was really huge. And like, she called him like, yeah, dude, like there's shit's gotten back to the States. Like what's going on? So yeah, that's a crazy backstory. I don't know. I'll try to look for it and see if I have it, but like, it sounds awful. It was like a total punk rock moment. And she was even like being quoted to just laughing and just letting Chino just basically make a complete fool of himself. So I'll try to find that, maybe play it on the podcast. And let me see if there's anything else. Oh yeah. There were a lot of different versions of this, like different pressings. There was like limited edition red CD, a black CD. You know, they put the back to school out there. So there was like, I don't know, just a lot of different versions. And I believe the first LP release, like the vinyl, is the red. Like it's an all red vinyl. So that was kind of like a cool deal. And the song Boys Republic is on there too, like on the red and the black CD cover. Have you ever listened to that song, Danielle?
I haven't.
Okay. Yeah, we'll finish this episode with Boys Republic. So you could check it out there. It's a great song. And with all the different versions, they did do some cool covers like the Deftones do. You know, like we mentioned, Helmet, and they've just done a lot of Drive Like Jehu or Jehu. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but they always find kind of obscure shit, right, to cover. And I remember they covered No Ordinary Love by Sade, and that's a jam. Like that's a great cover. Have you ever heard that one, Danielle?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was on like the Change single, and then the other one was Crenshaw, Throw Rocks at Me, and I used to love that song. Like I know both of these are on that B-sides and rarities that came out, and that was just like a really cool B-side. Do you ever listen to the song Crenshaw?
It's one of those Deftones songs that I just can't get into. Okay. There's like a handful of them, and that's one of them. Okay. But
yeah, so that's really what we got here. Is there anything else you'd like to say about White Pony, or you know, like, do you have any questions like for us or anything? Because we lived it, man. We lived it. We were there. Do you have anything else you want to say?
I mean, did you happen to like catch like a White Pony tour or anything like that back in the day? Like, I'm interested to hear about that.
Yeah, I did right when it came out, and I went to the Riviera in Chicago. We took a car, you know, a car ride filled with my buddies. And I believe the album came out on June 20th, and I went to see them on July 1st. So it was literally like 2 weeks after the album came out. And it was a really special time. I know I talked about it on the first episode, but Chino just kind of had this like sloppy emo swag. Is the best way I could describe it. Like he was, you know, like the style back then was kind of like baggier pants and shit and like Dickies. And like for some reason he was like wearing a tie, you know, and he was just kind of like all over the place. And, you know, Chi had his dreads, and they were tight. Like they were a little bit loose, but you could tell like it was a special time because they were like all coming together. And that was just a time too with nu metal. It was all starting to get like really similar and just kind of commercial and shitty. And you could just tell the Deftones did not care, and they like went their own direction. And like even at the Riviera, like, I don't know, there was just like cool lighting that I've never seen before. And I think they were incorporating some elements of like cutting up film, like Chino would do that, like different pictures in the background, like just kind of like obscure stuff. So you could tell they were like getting comfortable with their artsy fartsy side, And then after that, there was the back to school tour, and I went to that, but all the tickets sold out in Chicago, so we had to go up to Milwaukee, which is how far away is Milwaukee from Chicago, Stratton? An hour and a half?
About an hour. Oh, from Chicago?
Yeah.
Wait, about an hour 15, maybe an hour and a half of traffic.
Yeah, so we went up to that, and that was just a really cool time, too, because Incubus had just blown up, so Deftones and Incubus in 2000, it was just a big deal, and like Taproot was a part of it, too, and Taproot was really cool, especially around here in the Midwest, because they were from Kalamazoo, and, we kind of already had watch them locally too, like they were around, they were in Chicago and here in the region and shit. So it was kind of like cool to see a band like that on that level playing with those guys, and it was just a special time for rock and roll. And the Deftones were really good. I'll never forget when I saw them at the back to school thing. Like I had to get to the front, and it was a really chaotic situation because everybody rushed to the front of the stage. Like you read about that shit, like people getting trampled and stuff. Like I had to do everything in my power to like not get trampled and like just flex, like just like sit there and like flex, and like it's a really weird, like it's a weird sensation. Like you have no control. You just have to like go with the flow. And Chino actually stopped the show a few times, like, hey, you guys chill out, basically, and everybody got their shit together. I do remember with that when they did Teenager, like the slower song, and they had like a disco ball. I remember that was like a very memorable moment, and it was just like, whoa, these dudes are just big and getting a lot bigger. But yeah, Danielle, thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll bring you back on for Saturday Night Wrist.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me.
All right, cool. Is there anywhere, like any place you'd like for people to check you out on social media? Like, do you have a website or Twitter or Instagram, or like where can we find you?
So I do have a website. It's DanielleParsonsPhotography.com, and that hasn't been updated. I put most of my work on my Instagram, which is at Baby Danny. It's a terrible nickname I've had that's followed me around that I can't escape, and it's spelled BABIIDANII. So
that's
yeah,
a lot
that's
of
where you can
IIs.
check out most of my work.
Okay. One more time. What is that again? Could you spell it for everybody? We'll put it. BABIIDANII. God. All right, Danielle. Well, thanks for joining us. I'll keep in touch with you, and we'll do a Saturday Night Wrist episode. And if you ever come through the Chicagoland area, hit us up.
I will for sure.
We'll link up. But I'll keep in touch. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was really cool. And as far as the Deftones, like I got a little outro here, with White Pony, they took the last 30 years of music and they reshaped it into White Pony. They took elements from ambient, new wave, metal, everything, and they embraced it. They didn't necessarily care about what anybody else thought, and they went their own direction. That creative process and the struggle between Chino and Steph, it made for their best art and their most commercial successful album to date. And White Pony is it's brutally beautiful. It's an album that will stand the test of time, and it broke down all the different genre boundaries, and I'm appreciative of that because I'm glad I just didn't stay in my lane as be it a heavy metal kid or just death metal, because I loved all that shit back then, and there was a lot of that kind of bullshit macho stuff going on with that. Stratton, like you gotta, I don't know, try different things out. Like
I feel like with the amount of with how much you talk about the influence that the Deftones and the risks that they take. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
What just happened here?
You can't hear yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So with the risks that they take, I'm gonna switch here. I know what happened. I'll edit this shit out.
It's all right.
But with the risk that they took, it influenced you in your musical listening and probably in the way that you play too, and the songs that you play. And I mean, you had other influences. You had your parents, you had other people, but it seems like the fact that you were so into them and the fact that they tried stuff, I feel like it influenced you later when you went through multiple and continue to go through hip hop phases and the kind of hip hop that you like. And, you know, there's some people that get stuck in
Their phase.
the phase that they fell in love with that stuff, but you seem to be able to continue, and it seems to be because of the fact that this band you really liked was changing their sound and taking risks of their own, you know, whether the critics like them or not.
Right. Yeah, and that goes on like to my next point here too. Like, White Pony wasn't very well received when it first came out. You know, not everybody liked it. Select Magazine damned it as one of the worst albums ever. They only gave it 1 star, and they said it was unlistenable. They said it was progressive at risk. They weren't taking any risks. You know, they just destroyed it. And I remember a lot of fans, like friends and shit, like everybody wanted that heavy sound. And there's some people that fell off, you know, like maybe Chino was too whiny for him or whatever, but I enjoyed it, you know. And talking to Danielle, it seems like she'll pick a different Deftones album monthly, which I do too, but it sounds like she enjoyed it, and it was cool to hear her perspective on some of it.
Well, because of their sound, because their sounds and their albums are different. It's also speaks to probably what kind of photography she does, as far as like being able to still be focused on the different genres and bands she maybe gets to see, and the acts. Because, you know, you might get to go to, let's say tomorrow I get a job trying to do, you know, as a photographer for Thalia Hall, and like, you know, they have stand-up comics and punk shows and, you know, like country shows and cover bands and all that. And, you know, I might like half of that stuff. So how do I find the energy? If you, you know, if you like all kinds of music, you have a better chance of enjoying yourself every single time. And it's kind of cool, like the whole thing. So
yeah, it was just, for me, White Pony, it was just awesome because it broke down the different genre boundaries, right? And, you know, sometimes that produces the most brilliant music ever. Like the results are just a wide variety and different tastes. And it's a classic, man. It's like a fine wine, you know?
It does age well?
It does wage. Yeah, thank you. It does. Thanks. Sorry that didn't make any sense. But yeah, everybody, please check out Musically Meditative Podcast. Subscribe. We're on all listening platforms. We are on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, YouTube, so on, so forth. But it's really important that you hit subscribe and share this so that we can compete with all the other music podcasts.
Yeah. If you have 5 minutes to spare, type a few words about how you like us. The more input that these people get because it's all based on algorithms, if they see that the fan base is writing stuff, they will recommend it to other people. It's weird. The popular podcasts get more and more popular because they just get a lot more visualization. They get a lot more
exposure.
Exposure. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for.
And we're doing well. We really are. And we really appreciate the listener that we've built up the past year and a half, right?
Yeah.
We just need some help with you spreading the word. The word of mouth is still a very, very strong tool. And
our goal is before the summertime to crack that top 100 list.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That's what we're trying to do.
That's our goal. And there's only so much we can do. So it takes you to help us out.
Yeah.
And that's all I can ask for. So everybody, please subscribe, and adios.
Producer my ass over there.